What's going on, everybody? Listen, welcome to the Rec Nation. I want to just jump into this real quick. I think I mentioned this video in our last live that I really was looking forward to learning about. This is from the channel let me just double check before I put my foot in my mouth, because all credit should go to the History Chap channel, which I am subscribing to. Um, Guys, as always support the original content creators. You know, they work hard, they do their research, they put the story together, and do the research for this. They work hard to do this stuff. So please make sure you check out the History Chap channel. I will put that at the end of the video right here. You guys can go check that channel out. All right, and let me know what else from his channel you would like to see us learn about on this channel. All right, so listen, without any further ado, let's check this out. I am so interested in this. This kind of goes on this, like, this kind of stuff intrigues me. I'm on a journey of learning more about the I would say the zoomed in version of war and of history and of battles and stuff like that. So this goes in it, like, this is the individual story. So I love those too. We haven't had one of those for a while since we're on our World at War journey over on Rumble, as well as, man, we just finished a Battle 360. We haven't had a Fat Electrician episode on this channel for a while. So this is good. This is good to get another source for our journey here. So without any further ado, and also, like I said, show all love to the History Chap for putting this together. But I'm ready to learn. Let's go. Ready? 3, 2. Let me make it bigger, right? That makes more sense. All right. Ready? All right, 3, 2, 1. Let's go, guys.
Not many British servicemen have the honour of being awarded a Victoria Cross.
No.
But how about being awarded the Victoria Cross and the German Iron Cross as well?
It's nuts.
Incredible as it may seem, one British soldier holds that unique and intriguing distinction.
How?
But how did he manage to achieve it? I mean, at first glance, based upon 2 world wars, it seems a pretty unlikely combination. Was it by treachery? Or maybe mistaken identity? Join me as I explore the incredible story of William Manley,
Legend.
the only man ever
Look
to have
at
been
that.
awarded the VC and the Iron Cross.
That's crazy. What? It's like, it makes me assume, before we get into this, it makes me assume he was so undercover he got awarded the Iron Cross. Like, how else? And the fact that he can wear it on his dress uniform. I wonder, you can have foreign medals on your dress uniform, but that's interesting. All right, let's get to learning, guys.
William Manley was born in Dublin, Ireland in 1831. He was the second son of the Reverend Nicholas Manley. His maternal grandfather was a doctor who had served in the Army Medical Staff, which today is the Royal Army Medical Corps.
Okay.
Young William followed in his grandfather's footsteps and embarked on a career in medicine, and by 1851 had become a member of the Royal College of Surgeons. He also continued to follow his grandfather, Dr. Brown's career, by also joining the Army Medical Staff in 1854, the year that Great Britain entered the Crimean War. As a surgeon, he was attached to the Royal Artillery and almost immediately sent to the war zone. The Royal Artillery participated in the siege of Sevastopol, the main Russian naval base in the Black Sea. Manley served at Sevastopol for the entirety of the 11-month siege. Without going over all the ground that I've covered in other talks about the Crimean War, the war pitted the Russian Empire against a combined army consisting of the British, the French, the Ottomans, and later on, Piedmont Sardinia in Italy. The battles which tend to be remembered in Britain, Alma, Balaclava with the charge of the Light Brigade, and Inkerman, were all fought as part of this campaign to capture Sevastopol. Eventually, in late August 1855, a huge artillery bombardment preceded a major Allied assault on the Russian defences. The British attack on the Redan fortifications was repulsed with serious losses, and those of you who've watched or listened to my talk about Sir Evelyn Wood might recall that he was seriously injured in that battle. The French assault on the Malakoff fort was, however, a major success. With their defences breached, the Russians abandoned the city, and the war in the Crimean Peninsula cooled down. The following year, a peace treaty was signed. In 1864, and still attached to the Royal Artillery, William Manley was sent to New Zealand. Ever since the 1840s, the British had fought a series of wars with the indigenous Maoris, referred to nowadays as the New Zealand Wars, although previously called the Maori Wars. Despite their limited numbers, the Maoris proved to be formidable adversaries.
All of this that he just went over, I know nothing about. I've heard of the Charge of the Light Brigade, right? And I think that was from Sabaton. It's the only reason I can remember that. Okay? So there's eras of wars here, guys, that are nothing to me. It doesn't register anything, and that needs to change ASAP. So we have to check out a bunch of stuff, guys. Holy crap, man, this is nuts. Maori Wars, never heard of that. Maybe I think on the top 10 blunders in military history was the Maori Wars mentioned. I feel like maybe not. I'm not, guys. We've covered a lot, but it seems like we haven't covered enough.
They had quickly adapted their traditional weapons to include muskets, which they used with considerable accuracy. They also adapted their traditional strongholds to withstand attacks by the British. It was in front of one of these strongholds, or Pars, in the Bay of Plenty area on North Island, that 32-year-old William Manley found himself on the morning of the 29th of April, 1864. The British commander, Sir Duncan Cameron, was confident of victory, and so he should be. His force of 1,650 men totally dwarfed the 230 Maori defenders in the stronghold, which went by the name of Gate Par. Whilst there were some European settlers accompanying him, most of Cameron's men were drawn from the regular professional regiments, principally the 68th Regiment, later the Durham Light Infantry, and the 43rd Regiment. The 43rd would become the Monmouthshire Light Infantry, which in turn would become part of the Ox and Bucks Light Infantry, who stormed Pegasus Bridge on D-Day in 1944. And I've told that story recently, so check it out at the end. But Pegasus Bridge is a long way into the future, so let's get back to the 29th of April, 1864. The 43rd Regiment, along with the 68th, were accompanied by a contingent from the Naval Brigade, off HMS Harrier. Also present were 11 Armstrong field guns, as well as mortars and howitzers, all operated by the Royal Artillery. And with those gunners was Surgeon William Manley. With all that firepower, the result was never in doubt. The night before the battle, 9 British officers, including Manley, dined together. And I'll come back to that dinner in a little while. On the 29th of April, 1864, the Battle of Gate Par commenced, with a bombardment from the Royal Artillery guns. Confident that the Maori positions had now been softened up, Sir Duncan Cameron ordered the 43rd and the Naval Brigade under Commander Edward Hay to storm the fortification. The ensuing assault by the British on Gate Par was a complete disaster. As the British closed on the Par, they came under sustained and well-concealed rifle fire. One of the casualties of that rifle fire was the commander of the Royal Naval Brigade, 29-year-old Edward Hay. Mortally wounded, he was picked up by one of his sailors from HMS Harrier, Samuel Mitchell. Under Maori fire, Mitchell struggled back towards safety, and en route he met William Manley. Together the two men carried Hay back to the British lines, but their efforts were in vain. Commander Hay died shortly afterwards. Manley now ran towards the Par to assist any other wounded men from the 43rd or the Naval Brigade. Throughout the rest of the battle, he ferried injured men to safety. Eventually, with their losses mounting and with the Maoris not budging, the storming party fell back. William Manley was the last officer to leave the Par. Over 31 of the British assault party were killed, and a further 80 wounded.
Whoa.
Now, do you remember that I mentioned that Manley had dined with 8 other officers the night before the battle? Well, he was the only one not to be killed or wounded at the Battle of Gate Par. The Maoris had lost somewhere between 19 and 32 killed, and just 25 wounded. More importantly, they still held the Par, And that night, under the cover of darkness, the victorious Maoris quietly evacuated the stronghold. For his actions rescuing the wounded whilst under fire, Manley was awarded the Victoria Cross. So was Samuel Mitchell. The war between the British and Maoris went on. Manley was to serve at the storming of 4 more Pas. He was also to rescue more injured men. Most significantly, when a Royal Artillery gunner fell overboard on the Waitatora River and Manley dived in to rescue him. For that rescue, he was awarded another medal, the Royal Humane Society's Bronze Medal. He finished the war with the rank of Staff Surgeon, which equates to a Commander in the Royal Navy or Lieutenant Colonel in the Army. I'm intending to tell the story of those New Zealand wars in more detail in the future, so please subscribe to my channel so you don't miss them. Earning the Victoria Cross is no mean feat in the British Armed Forces. In the 170 years since its inception, less than 1,400 men have had the honour. 27 men serving in the Royal Army Medical Corps, or its predecessor, have been awarded the VC, including 2 of only 3 men to have ever been awarded the medal twice, Noel Shabazz and Arthur Martin Leake VC. I've told the story of both those men in the past, and I've also told the story of the other double VC recipient, who ironically, based upon this story, was from New Zealand, Charles Upham. Check them out if you haven't come across them yet. So, as I said, William Manley being awarded the Victoria Cross was one heck of an achievement. But now we come to his unique place in military history.
Pause. Guys, I know from our unvaulted video that we did with the having to deal with the Victoria Cross, I misspoke completely. I get that. So at the time of this recording, around 1,400 VCs. 1,400, not 14,000. And yes, it's more aligned to our Medal of Honor than our Purple Hearts. I'm just clarifying that up. That reaction was like 2 years ago, guys. So I still put it out, all right? I still put it out the way it was without any editing. So I did catch that. But anyway, back to his video. He's doing a phenomenal job, by the way. I definitely want to see more of him on the channel. And I definitely want to see you guys over there supporting his channel for sure.
In 1870, the Franco-Prussian War broke out. The Prussians, the dominant state in Germany, invaded France and in a lightning 6-month campaign besieged Paris and defeated the armies of Emperor Louis Napoleon, Napoleon Bonaparte's nephew, and father of the Prince Imperial, who was killed in the Zulu War, another one of my talks. Over 180,000 soldiers from both sides were killed in those 6 months, and a further 230,000 were injured. Whilst the other powers in Europe stood back from entering the fray, many of their populations were appalled by the scale of the casualties and the suffering, especially in the besieged city of Paris. Across the continent, volunteers came forward to help alleviate that suffering. Ambulance corps were established to support the wounded on both sides in the campaign. Despite the name Ambulance Corps, they were not a unit for ferrying wounded soldiers in wagons. Rather, they principally provided and ran field hospitals.
Okay.
Future British Army General Herbert Kitchener joined an ambulance corps assisting the French wounded. Meanwhile, the 26-year-old Professor of Philosophy at the University of Basel, Friedrich Nietzsche, joined a similar ambulance trying to help the Prussian wounded. Meanwhile, on the other side of the channel, the British Ambulance Corps was established with £300,000 in those days' money in donations flooding in from the public. And it was to this corps that the recently married William Manley volunteered. In the previous year, he had married Maria Elizabeth Darton at Sheerness in Kent. They were to produce a whole brood of children, one of whom would become a lieutenant colonel in the British Army, whilst another would die in 1901 whilst accompanying the British expedition to Peking during the Boxer Rising in China. The British Ambulance Corps was strictly neutral, rather like the Red Cross, and assisted the wounded in both armies. Manley was placed in command of B Division of the British Ambulance Corps, which was attached to the 22nd Division of the Prussian Army. The British surgeon marched somewhere between 200 and 300 miles with the Prussians as they campaigned in northern and eastern France. Based upon his actions in New Zealand, you won't be surprised to hear that he was found tending the wounded in the thick of the fighting. He was at 4 major engagements in late November and early December, including the battles of Chateauneuf and Orleans. His bravery in rescuing wounded soldiers whilst under fire came to the attention of Crown Prince Frederick of Prussia. Frederick was married to the eldest daughter of Queen Victoria. His father, Wilhelm I of Prussia, would in January 1871 be proclaimed as Emperor of the newly unified Germany at the Hall of Mirrors in Versailles. Frederick would succeed his father as Emperor of Germany in 1888, but he died after a reign of just 99 days at the age of 57. He would be succeeded by his young and headstrong son, Kaiser Wilhelm II, and the rest, as they say, is history. Anyway, back to late 1870. Crown Prince Frederick was so impressed by Manley's bravery and dedication to saving the wounded that he recommended that his father award the British surgeon with Prussia's highest military medal, the Iron Cross. And thus William Manley was now presented with the Iron Cross Second Class to go alongside his Victoria Cross.
That's nuts!
With the Prussians victorious in the field, the French sought an armistice. The Prussians agreed, and the siege of Paris was lifted. Manley now went into the French capital with supplies for their hospitals, an act which earned him yet another decoration, this time from the French Red Cross. After the conclusion of the Franco-Prussian War, Manley returned to his post as a medical officer in the British Army. Later in the 1870s, he would serve in the Second Anglo-Afghan War, where he was present at the occupation of Kandahar. In 1882, he accompanied General Sir Garnet Wolseley's expedition to Egypt. Promoted to the rank of Deputy Surgeon General, he was the principal medical officer to the 2nd Division at the Battle of Tel el-Kebir. Finally, in 1884, his 30 years of service to his country came to an end. He retired with the honorary rank of Surgeon General.
Man.
Having been made a Companion of the Order of the Bath and a Knight of the Order of St. John of Jerusalem, more often known today as St. John Ambulance, he moved to Cheltenham Spa on the edge of the Cotswolds. He spent the rest of his days living in Lansdowne Crescent in the town. John William Manley VC died of diabetes a month before his 90th birthday in 1901. He was buried in a local cemetery. Just another forgotten soldier from Victorian Britain. But maybe he shouldn't be, because to this day he holds the unique distinction of being the only man ever to have been awarded both Britain's Victoria Cross and the German Iron Cross.
God.
Well, thank you for joining me today, and I hope you enjoyed that story. And if you did, please consider joining my support.
Listen, guys, please show this channel lots of love. You know, I am... How do I say this? Okay, the History Chap, okay? The History Chap. I'll link his stuff all over the channel. Let's just play it out because I feel like I want to respect this man's work. Let's just get back. All right, let's see what he has to
Porters
say.
Club. There's a link in the description so you can find out all about it. Loads more stories planned here on YouTube,
That's
including
awesome.
Fenian raids in Canada during the 19th century, those New Zealand wars, and the real World War I story behind the film The African Queen. So don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss them. In the meantime, why not check out another one of my videos, such as the ones I made about the Crimean War. Thanks for your support. Keep well, and I'll see you again very soon.
Guys, listen. I can't stress enough how important it is to go support these channels that are doing the work and telling the stories that unfortunately are getting forgotten or less told or less known about. You know, it's so massively important to go support these guys. Like this is like he's bringing to light these amazing stories, doing the research, doing the hard work, man. And if I want to watch something on this journey on our channel that I'm just trying to absorb history and learn about battle history and war history and the forgotten peoples, individual stories of war and battle, these channels are tools. These are how I absorb things, you know. And this guy is a treasure trove of information. I have not seen another one of his videos, right? I want to reach out to him. I would love to have him on the channel for a talk. Would you guys be cool with that? Well, one, let's see if he's cool with me using this video. Hopefully he is. I'm not, listen, full transparency, I want to turn the monetization off on this video. So I don't know what that does, but hopefully, you know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know if that helps or doesn't help. I'm not sure on this end of things. But listen, it's not about the money. It's not about clicks or views. It's about this journey of mine that I'm taking with you guys, in front of you guys, learning history, trying to absorb the stuff that my history teachers, let's say, for let's just argue on their behalf for a second. Either their hands are tied because of curriculum and or timing they didn't get to, right? So these channels are insanely important. Please, guys, like, we have the Fat Electrician, we have the History Chap, we have these resources and treasure troves of information that they're putting out there in video form and doing the work to create these stories. Make sure you support them. At least make sure you show up and say Rec Nation sent you if you don't know who what this channel is, because it looks like they have tons and tons of content that'll fill in a lot of blanks for me personally. But let's see how this goes, guys. Much love. Thank you for rocking with me. Thank you for rocking with our journey here. Thank you for being part of literally one of the best communities on YouTube. I wouldn't be here without you guys. You guys are freaking legends. You are. Unplug, do something legendary, and I will see you all in the next video. Later, guys.